Today is October 22nd, 2020, and the second presidential debate just took place. I was originally going to make a video about this debate tomorrow, but then I thought that it would be a better idea to do it for today because I haven't uploaded a video yet today, so I thought I'll just cover the debate tonight. So the debate just ended around an hour ago. This was the second presidential debate, but it was originally supposed to be the third presidential debate. There was supposed to be a presidential debate a week ago on October 15th, but then because Trump got COVID, Biden said that the format should be online to make sure that no one gets COVID from Trump. And then Trump said that, no, I don't want to do it online, I'll only do the debate if it's in person. And then Biden said, no, I'm not willing to do that. So then the debate ended up getting canceled because Trump had COVID. Biden only wanted to do it online, Trump only wanted to do it in person. They couldn't agree on the format, so the debate got canceled. So the debate that was supposed to be there last week, that would have been the second presidential debate. This would have been the third one, the one today, but the one that was there today ended up being only the second presidential debate, not the third one. And this is also, by the way, the final presidential debate. It's kind of disappointing because in other election years there's usually three presidential debates, and I was kind of hoping there would be three this year, but I guess this election cycle there's only two of them, the one from September and the one today. The one that was supposed to be there last week, a week ago on October 15th, what ended up happening was that both candidates, both Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they both ended up doing their own town halls on the exact same day, at the exact same time, on different channels. So Joe Biden did his town hall on ABC, while Trump did his on the NBCs, CNBC, MSNBC, and just NBC. But I was not really a big fan of this format. I was not really a big fan of this because you had both candidates, both presidential candidates, doing different town halls at the exact same time but on different channels. When you have a format like that, it's pretty hard to keep up with what both candidates are saying because they're not directly talking to each other, they're talking to two separate audiences, and they're not able to directly respond to each other. And the other thing is that they were both at the exact same time, so you can't really pay attention to both of them at the same time. What I ended up doing was I had to flip between one and the other from time to time. I started out watching Biden's town hall, then I switched to Trump's in the middle. Then I went back to Biden's after Trump's ended because Biden's lasted 30 minutes longer than Trump. They both started at the same time, but Biden's lasted longer. Biden was an hour 30, but Trump's was only an hour long. I was not really a fan of that format. I talked about it in a video I made around a week ago. I was not a fan of that format because it's hard to keep up with both candidates and what all they have to say when they're talking to two separate audiences on two separate channels in two separate town halls. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on last week's town hall. I would like to talk about today's debate now. So, in my opinion, this debate was a lot easier to follow along with than the one from 3 to 4 weeks ago, the one from end of September. And the reason for that was because in this presidential debate, it was a lot easier to follow along with because the moderator was able to mute either candidate whenever they were talking, whenever they weren't supposed to be talking. So the moderator in today's presidential debate was Kristen Welker, and she is a journalist working for NBC. Basically, whenever either Biden or Trump kept interrupting the other candidate when it was their time to talk, whenever either candidate spoke during a time they weren't supposed to, Kristen Welker, the moderator, she had the ability to mute either of them whenever they were talking when they weren't supposed to be talking. And because of that, we were able to avoid all the interruptions that happened 3 weeks ago, 3 to 4 weeks ago. And because of that, it was overall much easier to follow along with what each candidate was saying. You could just hear what Trump was saying at one point, and then right afterwards see what Biden has to say in response. You don't have any of the interruptions. You can actually get a coherent idea of what each candidate believes in. So I think that this debate was a lot better in terms of actually letting each candidate know, let each candidate tell the American public what they believe in. And I think this debate is a lot more helpful for people if they haven't decided which candidate they're going to vote for yet. I think this debate was a lot more helpful in terms of helping people decide which candidate to vote for because you could actually get a good picture of the policies that each candidate believes in from this debate because you did not have the constant interruptions. So overall, if you're still undecided, if you're not sure who to vote for, forget about the first debate. That debate was mostly useless in terms of figuring out what each candidate believes in. There was so much interruption in that debate. I think Chris Wallace could have done a better job of asserting his authority as moderator and making sure that candidates don't interrupt each other too much, but I guess he wasn't able to do that. I guess he wasn't able to stand up to Biden and Trump. It was mainly Trump interrupting in the first debate. Biden did it at some points, but Trump did it more so than Biden. I don't think Chris Wallace did a good enough job of utilizing his authority as moderator in order to stop the interrupting. I understand it's a tough job, and Biden and Trump are pretty fierce debaters, especially Trump, but I think that the ability for the moderator to be able to mute either candidate when they're speaking over time or when they're speaking when the other candidate's speaking, I think that was a pretty useful ability, and I think it definitely paid off in this debate. And if you watched it, you can definitely see the difference between this debate and the first presidential debate. Overall, who do I think won this debate? I'm honestly not sure. I think Biden might have won mainly because of the segments where he directly spoke to the camera, looked into the camera, and directly spoke to the American people. That was what he was trying to do. I think that's also what he did in the first presidential debate, but he did that today also. At times, he was trying to show a sense of sympathy or empathy towards people who have struggled throughout these past several months. Because this entire year for that matter, it has been a very stressful time with pandemics, social unrest, economic disasters. So I think Biden just speaking directly to the American people just by looking at the camera and pointing at them even, I think that gave the sense that Biden understands what people are struggling with. Biden understands the struggles that people have been through this past year. I think just for that, Biden might have won that debate. But here's the thing: a lot of people are just going to say the person who won the debate is the person they support more. So Trump supporters are more likely to say that Trump won the debate. Biden supporters are more likely to say that Biden won the debate. But I would say that if you want to get a good idea of who you think won the debate, just watch the debate or at least watch compilations of the debate if you don't have enough time to watch the whole thing. I think if you just watch it for yourself, you can get a good idea to see which candidate you can see which candidate you agree with more, first of all, and second of all, you can see which candidate did an objectively better job in terms of making fair points and making valid logical points. Overall, much better than the first presidential debate. It's kind of disappointing that we only have two presidential debates and not three, but we're not going to have another one. I think after today, it's too late to do another presidential debate, so we're going to be stuck with just two presidential debates and one vice presidential debate. Kind of disappointing. I was hoping for one more. But the first presidential debate, if you ask me, was not even that useful because you cannot get a good idea of what either candidate believes in with all that interrupting. So I think, to be fair, to be honest, this presidential debate was the only one that was really that important. I think more people will be able to walk away with a certain impression of either candidate that they didn't previously have in this debate than they did in the first debate. In the first debate, it was basically whoever you supported before the debate, you support after the debate because you couldn't really get a good idea of what they were saying with all the interruptions, all the incoherency. Chris Wallace not doing a good job of stopping the interruption, but in this debate, because the moderator was able to mute either candidate whenever they were interrupting, and I guess because both candidates knew about that, they just decided not to do interruptions unless absolutely necessary. So I think that helped a lot, and this debate definitely does a lot better of a job at letting people know what each candidate believes in, and I think this debate was overall a success in terms of how it ran and how people perceived it.